Here's 5 myths about going to seminary from a Catholic priest who spent 7 years in one. That's me. Myth number 1. You have to have a spotless history. Is it necessary to have a high level of moral character to be a priest? Of course. But we know people go through conversions. St. Paul, St. Augustine. In fact, God often uses past faults as a way to show the power of his grace. Ultimately, all of us are sinners, unworthy of the priesthood. So the church discerns each case individually to determine if a man's past is an obstacle to living the priesthood. Really, the church is looking at 2 things. 1, does the man have a calling from God? And 2, does he have the capacity to answer that call right now and to live it well for God's people? Myth number 2. If you go to seminary, you are definitely going to be a priest.
False.
Actually, according to the stats, even if you go to seminary, you probably won't be a priest. Close to 75% of men who enter don't end up becoming priests. I actually entered seminary with 14 guys, and by Christmas, only 7 were left. That was kind of an extreme, but all of this should be a relief because it means that you don't have to be 100% sure when you enter. The seminary isn't just a conveyor belt that pumps out priests. It serves the twofold function of discernment and formation. If you think you might be called to the priesthood, seminary is the best place to become sure that you are, or that you aren't. Regardless of where you end up being called, seminary is a great place to develop your intellectual, spiritual, and natural gifts to become a virtuous and holy man. For some, that will be to the service of the church as a priest. For those who leave seminary, it will be preparation for becoming the spiritual leader of a family as a good husband and father. Myth number 3. All the guys at seminary will be weird. When I went to seminary, I thought I'd be cool and everyone else would be weird. But when I got there, I realized they were all cool and I was kind of the weird one. Are there some odd ducks in the seminary? Sure. And actually, some of those guys become the best priests. The prophet Elijah was weird. John the Baptist was weird. St. Francis was weird. And frankly, any guy willing to follow Christ as a celibate priest in our culture is going to be considered weird. But it isn't like everyone is homeschooled weird. I can say that because I was homeschooled. In fact, in seminary, I found some of the coolest people I'd ever met. People who are now some of my best friends. It's easy to think you won't have any social life when you enter seminary. And you might not have a normal social life, but you will have an awesome social life. Normal social lives in college usually involve a certain amount of degeneracy and sin. But your social life in seminary actually supports you in growing into a virtuous Catholic man. Imagine the best friends you have right now. Now imagine you all agreed that for the summer, you would all work on one thing, becoming saints. What would you do? You would set personal goals, commit to a daily schedule, and prioritize becoming more disciplined, more prayerful, and more holy. You would cut out things that were hurting you. That's how seminary should be. The guys in seminary were fun and interesting to be around, but what made the social life in seminary great was that they really wanted to be holy. We were on a mission together to be saints. This leads to myth number 4. The seminary will automatically make you holy. Unfortunately, no. Trust me, even though seminary provides you with a supportive environment to become a saint, you can just as easily become a negative, lazy, and even prideful person. At the end of the day, we grow in holiness to the degree that each of us cooperates with God's grace, worthily receiving the sacraments, growing in prayer, and submitting to God's will. The seminary provides the sacraments, but it can't make you worthy to receive them. The seminary makes time and space for you to pray, but it can't make you willing and attentive. The seminary provides you with a formation plan, a spiritual director, a formation advisor that all push you to grow in areas that you appear weak, but they can't make you listen to God's voice. We had a line in seminary, you are the agent of your own formation. In other words, you have to want holiness. The seminary provides a great framework and wonderful resources, but ultimately, you have to be willing to cooperate with the Holy Spirit. Myth number 5, you will leave all your gifts behind. Guys come into seminary with all kinds of gifts and talents, and it's kind of amazing how God used them. As an old priest used to tell me, God wastes nothing. If you have a gift, it came from God, so he probably wants to use it. Some of the guys in seminary were preparing to be priest chaplains in the military, so they would skydive twice a month as part of their training. We all took classes at a nearby Catholic university, and one of the seminarians played on the college soccer team. Another was on the college lacrosse team. They just had to leave practice early to make evening prayer back at the seminary. One guy was a master organist who used to play for the Liturgy of the Hours. Another guy would paint icons. Some of the men were top-tier barbecue pit masters who loved to cook. At one point, another seminarian and I hosted a concert on the campus called Seminarians Mic'd, where we performed all original music for hundreds of students. And yes, thank goodness there were a few geniuses that had read every encyclical and every volume of the Summa who we relied heavily on during final was weak. When I entered seminary, I thought I would leave behind all my gifts and talents. But instead, I realized that God just wanted to use those for the kingdom. Becoming a priest doesn't mean giving up who you are. It means becoming who you were always meant to be. I hope that busting those 5 myths was helpful. Comment your thoughts below and subscribe if you found that interesting. We'll see you next time.